Lesson 1. Stick grip and posture. When first learning the drums, there are two very important things. One of them is the grip on the stick, and the second is your posture. The grip on the sticks is fundamentally important, as it will determine how well you play both now and in the future. When you hold the sticks in match grip, like this fashion, where both sticks are held the same, it's very important to keep a gap between the thumb and the first finger. This gap will allow you to play in a relaxed fashion. What most people do when they start playing the drums, particularly when they start to try and play fast, is they tend to tense up, and this gap between the thumb and the first finger closes up. The problem with that is that when you start playing fast and you do this, all of the shock from the stick is actually going up your arm and is not absorbed by the stick. This can cause problems like RSI, carpal tunnel syndrome, and other nasties like that. Basically, it's very important that we keep a gap between the thumb and the first finger, and we try and keep the sticks as relaxed as possible, with all of the fingers staying on the stick. It is also important that we keep a small amount of the stick at the back here, say about an inch, so that the stick itself is balanced. Okay? If we hold it too far up, like this, or like this, the stick will not be balanced and we won't get the most out of the stick. What we're aiming to do with our grip is really use the weight of the stick to do a lot of the work for us. It's just gravity or physics. If we use the weight of the stick and we have it balanced in this position, the stick will do a lot of the work for us just by using gravity. If we keep the stick nice and relaxed, we won't build up any tension in the arm that will prevent you from playing fast in the future. The grip is probably the most fundamental thing that you can focus on when you're first learning to play the drums, because if you don't get it right, it will really hamper your drumming development in the future. Now, on to posture. It's very important that when you're playing the drums that you try and sit up straight. If you slump and curve your back, you will have back problems in the future. It's also very important that you sit with your legs parallel or maybe slightly higher or lower to the ground. And by that I mean this part of your leg parallel to the ground. If you sit too low, you'll feel like you're on a motorbike, and if you sit too high, you'll get a nosebleed. Just kidding. If you sit too high, you won't have the full use of your legs when playing the bass drum or the hi-hat. It's very important that your seat height is correct and that you're not sitting too high or too low. Good rule of thumb, like I said before, is that this part of your leg should be parallel to the floor. It's also very important where you sit on the seat. If you sit on the full seat, the full round of the seat, that will actually restrict the movement of your legs and will actually tend to throw you backwards if you're playing both the bass drum and hi-hat at the same time, or indeed playing double bass drum. The best place to sit on the stool is the front half of the stool. So if you imagine the stool as like a cake, you're sitting on the front half of the cake, or squashing the cake. So basically, we would sit on the front half of the stool like that. Not only does that free up all of your legs for motion, particularly if you're playing with your heel up on the bass drum, but what it does is it prevents roll on your lower back as well. That's very important for the health of your back long term, should you wish to continue to playing the drums. Because obviously, if you want a long career as a drummer, you really need to be conscious of your back's health, because obviously, sitting down for long periods of time can have quite an effect on your back. So therefore, it's very important that you sit up straight and try and keep good posture and sit at the front of the seat. Because then, unlike sitting on the whole of the seat and throwing yourself backwards, if you sit on the front half of the seat, your centre of gravity will be in front of you. Therefore, if you start to play both hi-hat and bass drum, or double bass drum, you're not going to have problems with falling backwards because your centre of gravity is in front of you. So there, probably in the first lesson, the two most important things: the grip, that you have a nice relaxed grip, okay? Once again, very, very important, this gap between the thumb and the first finger. You're trying to really keep the stick in the first joint of the first finger as opposed to the knuckle joint. And watching that when you play faster, that you don't automatically tense up and close that grip. It's very important that that space between the thumb and the first finger remains there at all times. And secondly, your posture and how you sit on the stool. Okay, it's very, very important for ensuring that you play in a relaxed way when you're at the drums. Because if you play tense, and you are tense when you're playing in any part of your body, what you play will sound tense. It will sound stiff. And we don't want that. We want you to sound as relaxed as possible, and we want you to be able to play for as long as possible. So concludes lesson 1.